We've all heard the horror stories. Tax pros who disappear on you. Tax pros who get you audited, or worse, they steal your refund. The IRS just dropped new red flags to watch for, and in today's video, I am going to break them down for you. But before I do, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of this wealth building information. Now, let's get after it. Let's break down this issue so you know exactly what to look for and how to protect yourself. Number one red flag is that a tax preparer promises you huge refunds without seeing your documents. Let's talk about why this matters. This is one of those things that can fly under the radar, but most people don't realize how common this is. So if you've seen this before or it sounds familiar, you're not alone. It's something I see all the time in my practice, and it should not be ignored. If you hear people promising you large refunds, turn around and run in the opposite direction. A real true professional is not going to make any promises other than they're going to prepare a substantially correct tax return. Promising you a big refund is one of the most major red flags that you want to watch out for. Why is that? Because if someone is promising you a big refund, chances are they are going to put deductions on your tax return that don't actually belong there to ensure you get that big refund. And that is not what you want to happen. You might get that refund today, but down the road, IRS is going to knock on your door or audit you. The only thing that your tax professional should be promising you in that initial conversation is that they're going to be sure that they file a substantially correct tax return. But promising big refunds, run away from that person as fast as you can. Second red flag. They charge you fees based on your refund. Therefore, they're guaranteeing you a big refund because their fees are going to be a percentage of your refund. Well, that should never happen because tax preparers are not supposed to charge a percentage of a taxpayer's refund. So you definitely want to stay away from individuals like that. If they are charging you a fee, that fee should be based on one or two things. Either the time it took them to prepare your return or the number of schedules needed to prepare your return, but never as a percentage of your refund. Another red flag is that they ask you to sign a blank tax return or they ask you to sign a blank electronic filing form. Never, ever, ever sign blank forms. This is usually one of those things that tax preparers will do. Tax preparers who are unscrupulous, they get you to sign a blank form and then they put whatever they want to put on the form, regardless of the documentation you give them. However, I want you to be well aware that it's your tax return. And once that tax return goes in the IRS and or any state revenue department, you, my friend, are responsible for what is on that tax return. And chances are the person that's asking you to do that is probably not a licensed professional. They're probably not going to have a license that gets suspended, and you're ultimately going to have to pay back your tax with penalties and interest, and may even end up in a bigger tax slinky than you ever thought of before. So shy away from anybody that asks you to sign blank tax forms. Red flag number 4 is that you get with a tax preparer who refuses to electronically file your tax return, or they refuse to give you a copy of your tax return. Why is this an issue? If they are not going to electronically file your tax return, that tells me they're not registered with the IRS's e-file system. And if they are not registered, it's probably because, one, they don't have a license, and two, they can't get registered. When you are a registered e-filer, that means you've had to go through certain scrutiny to ensure that you have some level of integrity to be preparing tax returns. And if they don't give you a copy of the tax return, that is because they don't want to sign their name to the tax return. I don't ever want you to get caught up in a refund thinking everything is okay because the tax return gets filed and you get an actual refund back in your pocket. Refunds are only temporary until IRS actually goes through, looks at the paperwork, and decide whether or not you can keep that refund or not. So just because you received it doesn't mean it actually belongs to you. And regardless of how you got it, it is still your responsibility. Therefore, you will pay back the tax, you will pay back the penalties, and if there's anything else that the IRS felt like you did wrong, it is on you and not the preparer because they were not a licensed individual. The final red flag you want to look out for is they won't put their name or their personal tax identification number on your tax return. Why would they not want to do that? They don't want to do that because their name is not registered with the IRS, or they don't have what we call a P10 number. A P10 number is issued to all licensed tax preparers because it's IRS's way of regulating the tax filing community of licensed preparers. If they aren't willing to do that, then you should not be willing to allow them to prepare your tax return. If you're going to go to someone who is going to prepare your return, you want them to provide you with a copy of that return with their name at the bottom of it with a P10 number showing. That means that they are a tax professional. If they don't do that, chances are maybe they're a tax scammer, maybe they're a tax crook, or maybe not. But do you want to allow your tax situation to be caught up with that individual? Up to you to decide. I don't recommend it. So let's bring it in full summary. Red flags that I want you to make sure you look out for are tax preparers that promise you a large refund, tax preparers that will not sign your tax return, tax preparers that will not e-file your return, tax preparers that will not give you a copy of your return. Remember, big refunds sound good, but are they really good? You want to make sure that whomever is preparing your tax return, they're doing it to protect you not only today, but 2, 3, 4 years down the road when IRS comes to knock on your door. Or perhaps you need your tax return to qualify for a home, to get your kids financial aid, or whatever the case may be. So make sure you're paying attention and make sure you drop me a comment below and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of this wealth building information. And if you need somebody to prepare your taxes that's a licensed tax professional, please click on the link and you can grab a consultation with my team, and I guarantee you they'll do the right thing.